Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Louis Yakumi. I'm the conference director and publisher of the Automotive Logistics Group. It's our first Automotive Logistics UK conference, and we really wanted to make sure that this was going to be a great success as a conference for us, as a conference for our delegates, and also to be, a representative of the UK automotive logistics industry. So for this reason, they kept me off the podium for as long as possible. But I've managed to fight my way back on. So I hope you enjoyed the first session. It was very interesting. Some great speakers gave some great analysis. So I hope that gave you a good introduction to what's happening in our industry, some of the opportunities, challenges, and what's happening from a Brexit perspective, because that's very much in the back of everybody's minds. Even though the conference is a logistics and supply chain conference, what's happening in Brexit is something that's going to have a huge impact on our industry at some stage, and sooner rather than later. But this session we're going to be looking at logistics and the window of opportunity, what the opportunities are in logistics supply chain, what different sectors are doing to move the UK automotive supply chain forward to, from and in the UK. And we're very fortunate to have a great panel here today representing different sectors of the industry, a car maker, a port operator, an IT company and a consulting company, to give us various views on how we believe the automotive logistics and supply chain will move forward and develop. I'd like to introduce our first speaker of the day, Richard Marlowe, a good friend of ours from Automotive Logistics who's attended a few of our conferences in the past in various guises. Currently the Planning and Strategy Manager for the UK Plant Group for MP&L for JAGUAR Land Rover. Thank you, Richard. Thanks, Richard.
Thanks, Louis. So he did as he said, and he's taken my notes, so I'll take my notes back. Absolutely. He said he wouldn't do that, but he's done it straight away. So thank you, Louis. That's probably years of working with Louis, and I expected something along those lines. So, okay. So first of all, thank you very much for the privilege and the opportunity to present this morning. It's, as Louis said, I have actually been to a couple of these conferences in the past. I used to be in a former guise. I used to wear a white suit and work for Honda. But this is the first time I've actually had the opportunity to represent JAGUAR Land Rover, which again is a privilege for me. So what I'm wanting to do this morning is picking up on the window of opportunity. I wanted to really bring it back to JLR, the opportunity that we have had over the last number of years, and just show a few slides in terms of where we've come from and where we're going as a company, but also then bring it back into some of the more logistics-focused things. My key responsibilities are looking at the inbound and the plant logistics functions for JAGUAR Land Rover. So I'm just going to bring in some slides at the end, really, just basically show some of the key challenges and some of the key transformational activities that we are looking to put in place within our operations for JAGUAR Land Rover, which then supports the bigger business that we've got. So, first of all, who are JAGUAR Land Rover? As you can see, this is our main company philosophy that we've got. So basically we've got built around two iconic brands, the Land Rover and the Jaguar product that we've got. JAGUAR Land Rover, strong, healthy, vibrant company delivering products that we feel are unique, and I think the market agrees with that. High demand around the world. We don't compete against volume. We actually compete in a premium market is our key focus in all of our products. And we feel that we're a specialist premium automotive maker. We offer something different, something special. Again, British design. This is a UK conference. We are very proud to be a British-based company within the industry. And it is actually, our business is driven by a portfolio of, we feel, great products around that we actually can sell around the world. So, our business. We have 11 vehicle lines that we make currently. We've got 3 UK vehicle assembly plants in the UK, and actually we're spending, basically, as you can see on here, we've got nearly 40,000 employees directly working for JAGUAR Land Rover, and that has almost doubled over the last 5 years, which just shows the sheer scale of growth that we're actually going through. I won't say we've gone through, because we're still going through that growth as a company. Interestingly, we've now diversified. We're no longer just a UK company, so we've now got plants in China, India and Brazil, where we're making cars in each of those facilities. We've got plans for other ones, which I'll come on to later. 9,000 engineers, so the technical expertise that we employ in the UK is incredible in terms of, you know, the engineering base is here in the UK. The investment is here in the UK. And we are the largest automotive employer in the UK. Okay, so this just shows our growth from the time when Tata Motors bought Jaguar Land Rover, and just shows there from a base in 2009 of 196,000 vehicles. Last year we made 487. This year we'll break the half a million mark. Circa 550,000 is the target for this year and more. That will continue to grow. That's the growth plans that we've got for Jaguar Land Rover, and just shows year on year significant growth that we've had, which has been supported by significant amounts of investment that we've put into the business. This is where we are in terms of our global infrastructure. The UK I'll come on to, but you can see here in Brazil we had a new facility that opened in 2016 this year. We've got India and China operations that are also making cars, and also then in the middle of Europe there, the two facilities that again I'll mention, it's already been mentioned this morning, the Slovakia factory, groundbreaking has now started on that, and actually that will be constructed over the next 1 to 2 years. And also we've got a joint venture which is being planned with Magna Steyr in Austria under contract manufacturing. Back to the UK, you can see here 3 main UK car plants, which I'm sure you're all aware of, at Halewood, Castle Bromwich and Solihull. Engine manufacturing facility, which was opened a couple of years ago, which now makes our Ingenium engine. That actually now supports a number of our products, and actually has given us the self-reliance in terms of our engine manufacturer as well. Also, as we're a UK-based company, our 2 main headquarters are at Whitley and at Gaydon, where we do a lot of our engineering. Our purchasing functions are based in those facilities, again employing significant amounts of people in the UK. And also, you see on there, Warwick Manufacturing Group, again it's been mentioned this morning, very closely aligned with Warwick Manufacturing Group in terms of the interface into Warwick and the development of new technologies and new initiatives within the business. I don't need to remind you in terms of the product portfolio, but we're quite proud of the vehicles that we produce. I suppose you walk around the Mercedes-Benz world here and you see similar, you know, high premium marks out there, but we're equally proud of our products as well on there. From the Jaguar, in the Jaguar product, the F-Pace, the latest one that we've actually just launched this last year, and actually is doing incredibly well. But also the other ones are very, very significant. The XF long wheelbase there is a car that we make in China. So we only make that one in China. The Land Rover product lineup, the Range Rover lineup at the top, so the Range Rover Sport and Evoque, and the Evoque Convertible, which again was launched last year. So again, a significant new vehicle, new market, niche vehicle coming into the market that previously hasn't really been out there before. And then also we've got the bottom there, the Discovery and the Discovery Sport. Discovery Sport last year again when it was growing and developing that one. But then only last week we launched the brand new Discovery 5. So the all new Discovery, and that's the picture of the new Discovery that was launched last week. So that's, again, just shows the scale of new investments that we're putting into the company. So, in the UK economy, we see ourselves as the leading premium automotive business in the UK as a manufacturer. The only volume manufacturer of luxury vehicles in the UK, and we also were the largest investor in automotive research and development engineering in the UK. Major provider of highly skilled jobs in the UK. It's not just about sales, making cars, it's actually bringing in the skilled labour, the technology innovation that actually supports the rest of the industry and the economy in the UK. Significant number there, supporting 275,000 people throughout the supply chain, dealer network and wider economy. Significant player in the business. And we're also one of the largest exporters by value of companies in the UK out of the UK. 80% of our products are exported from the 3 plants to elsewhere around the world. And we're led by advanced design engineering. We keep coming back to that. The technology is critical to us. I mentioned the 9,000 engineers, 150 million investment in a new research facility, which I'll show you a picture of and how it's going to look like in Warwick, in Warwick. And we've actually had over £1 billion worth of investment in state-of-the-art advanced engine technology, again, through the new facility that we built at Wolverhampton. So there's some pictures of some of the new facilities that we've got. So this is now the plant in Brazil. You can see the top left there. That's what the Slovakian factory will look like. That's had groundbreaking now, so it doesn't look like that yet, but it will not long look like that in Slovakia, in Nitra in Slovakia. And then also we've got the National Automotive Innovation Centre, which is currently being built in Warwick, and that will be opened in the second half of 2017. So, really investing in new technology in the UK. And also just there again, a new facility is now opened at Ryton, which is on the old Peugeot site at Ryton in Coventry, where actually we're now doing some of our special vehicle operations in a bespoke and new facility, again, in the UK, to provide that level of vehicle. So that's the company. Bring it back to logistics in terms of where logistics, and I think there's some numbers on here that you can see in terms of what we do and what we have to cope with from a logistics organisation in Jaguar Land Rover. I think the strapline at the bottom there, and I think we'd all agree with that, anybody in the logistics field, logistics is an absolute integral part of JLR's future growth. It has to be. As we grow to be a global company rather than a UK-based company, logistics becomes ever more critical to us. Not saying it wasn't critical before, it becomes ever more critical. The supply chain, global supply chains, how do we deal with parts, how do we flow parts around the world, data becomes ever more critical to us. And an efficient supply chain is critical to the success of our company. So within that, as a result of that, we've looked at our business, as we should all do, and we've realised that, yes, some of our logistics, we do need to transform, we do need to embrace new technologies, we do need to embrace new thinking within our logistics areas. So we've got a transformation programme, and I'm just going to pick up some of the things that we're actually looking to do within our transformation programme. And this is not just ourselves, this is working with our partners. I think, again, it's a critical message there. Can't just do it on our own. So we work very closely with our main partner, which is DHL, on this inbound and in-plant transformation programme. You can see some of the work streams that are in there in the middle, but really what we're aiming to do is to drive reliability, flexibility and speed into JLR's inbound supply chain to make it world-class. That's what we've got to achieve. If we want to be a world-class manufacturer, we've got to have a world-class logistics network as well, and that's the key challenge that we want to deliver. So, what does that look like in terms of some of our inbound supply? So, what do we need to do? We're working very closely with our vendors, with our suppliers, to make sure that we've got teams out there working with them to make sure that we've got to assess and drive conformity to our standards. Yeah, that's one of the key challenges. If we get the upfront parts coming into us in the right way, in a conformed, good processes that follow and actually are robust and all coming through, it gives us a chance then to the further downstream processes to work more effectively and more efficiently. If we don't have conformity coming into us, then obviously that then starts to impact on some of the processes that we've got to put in place and makes us less than efficient. Inventory and supply chain modelling. We've got to look at a differentiated inventory supply chain policy. We look at cost of the operation. We look at the plant requirements of stock holding. Where's the supply chain coming from? What's the cost of those parts? We need to define and actually make distinctive processes, actually looking at individual part by part. What is the inventory policies that we hold for each of those? It's not new, but it's something that we've, in terms of our business, we are developing, and actually we know we've got to work on even further to take the overall cost base down of our business and make ourselves more efficient. Labelling, simple thing, but actually consistent labelling allows new technologies to be applied. Yeah, we wanted to make more automated processes within our receiving functions. They are very, very complicated. We've got some, very historical facilities in the UK. We need to make the receiving and the physical logistics processes far more efficient. We want to automate them wherever we can. Again, so it's coming back to conformance. It's coming back to making sure that we've got control over what's coming into us. Yard management, again, I mentioned we've got some very historical facilities around the UK. If you walk around many of them, they've been there for 50 years. they're not designed for modern day logistics in some respects. We've got to get control over the inbound supply coming into us, yard management system. How do we use integrated controlled deck management systems across all sites to actually help us manage the inventory, make sure it's there at the right time, and make sure that we actually support our customer, which is our manufacturing plant, far more effectively. In plant, again, physical, we talk about the plant infrastructures. We're spending a huge amount of money from a logistics sense in terms of how do we support the manufacturing areas to make the logistics more efficient. These are some images that we've got. Top there is Castle Bromwich plant, and the orange sites there is new buildings that are going up as we speak. So they're actually they'll be starting operation at the end of this year and throughout next year. So we're actually putting significant investment into our Castle Bromwich plant. The image there in the middle is a proposed a facility that will go to planning shortly in Solihull to support the Solihull plant. And actually at the bottom there is a Halewood facility where we're expanding and looking at our infrastructure in Halewood as well. So the 3 UK car plants, there's investment going into each of them to help us, logistics support manufacturing area. So again, I won't go through the individual words on the side, you can read for yourself, but it's really trying to make sure we've got a standard process and that actually is efficient and operates effectively to support the manufacturing areas. An implant, again, huge investment, what we're putting inside it. Yeah, application of technology I mentioned. This is an example of an ASRS facility, storage and retrieval system that's actually up and running at Halewood. That went in a couple of years ago now, a year and a half back. That's operating now, takes out significant, makes the labour efficiency more efficient, more impressive there. And that's operating well, and we're building similar operations to that at both Solihull now, Solihull will go live in the next month, and then at Castle Bromwich as well. So it's significant investment that we're putting into how do we handle parts within the business. Again, fundamental though, as we've all done this, it's line back, it's looking at the manufacturing process. It's absolutely critical. How does logistics support the manufacturing area? Absolutely, we are challenged this constantly within a logistics organisation. It's the assembly associate that's the key person. How do we support with our logistics to make his job easier? We need to then look at our logistics to make sure that our logistics processes are efficient and actually risk-free and actually supply in the most efficient way. One-touch logistics there. It's a simple concept. We don't want to touch parts we want to touch them as little as we possibly can. At the moment, we touch them too much. Yeah, again, challenged through some of the infrastructure that we're putting in place, some of the new technologies, we'll touch the parts far less than we currently do today. And then finally, driving many of these changes is really information. And again, this is probably one of the real challenges that we've got in the business, and I think we probably all have, is how do we use information far more effectively to drive the business forward. These are many, at the bottom there, are many of the initiatives that we're looking to put in place. Different ideas that we're actually looking to put in place. They're either in place now and we need to improve, or we're actually looking to put new innovation into our business. Driving that, though, is to make sure that they talk to each other, that they're actually effective and work very much more closely together, is how do we deal with data. Effective information flow and effective product flow all the way through the supply chain. Data drives product. Data drives innovation and efficiency improvements that we've got within our business. And this is a key area from our system. A lot of our systems are legacy systems. We've had them for a number of years now. So we know we've got to renovate that as well. So there's it's a very wide-ranging transformation program that we are looking to put in place within Jaguar Land Rover. Okay, so finally, I think the key message here is we are developing its global operations. We've already seen where we've already done that, but where we continue to do it in support of its significant growth plans. JLR Logistics is transforming, as I've shown some examples, all elements of its logistics network to meet the challenges of this ambitious growth. Globalization requires integrated logistics networks and efficient data flow of operations. Absolutely critical. We all know that, and I've talked about the inbound and the in-plant logistics, but it's just the same in the outbound side as well. Information is very critical in terms of into the market, making sure that we actually service our customers far more effectively than we currently do today. And the UK operations will remain as a core part of our plans, and so we need to transform our logistics operations, and as I mentioned, in historical facilities to maintain our competitiveness in the industry. So that's basically a summary of what we are trying to do within JAGUAR and ROVER at the moment from logistics. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard. A perfect start to this session, giving us a really good overview of what JAGUAR Land Rover's plans are for the future, both in the UK and the importance of the UK and, of course, globally. Just a quick note to point out that, obviously, I suppose we're running late, but we'll make up for it at the lunch and so on. But I just think, you know, the first session was so interesting that we wanted to make sure that theme developed, and Richard's proved already that this session is going to have similarly important content. So we'll be running a little bit late with lunch starting at about 12:45. But next up, to hear another vision of the future affecting a particular sector of the industry, I'd like to welcome to the podium Simon Bird, the Director of ABP. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you. You did. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Simon Bird, and I'm the Regional Director of the ABP Humber Ports, which incorporate the ports of Immingham and Grimsby on the south bank and Hull and Gaul on the north bank, where we handle over 70 million tonnes of cargo in 2015, which makes the Humber the largest port complex in the UK. I'm here today representing ABP's 21 ports that are strategically spread across the UK. And in 2015, the ABP ports of Southampton and the Humber handled over 1.7 million vehicles, which accounts for about 40% of all UK imports and exports. Now, we heard this morning a wee bit about Brexit and the future, and we also heard a wee bit about where technology is going in terms of the automotive. What I'm going to do in the next couple of minutes, though, is talk about the future again and smart ports and their part in changing the world of automotive logistics. So, what is a smart port? And what does being a smart port mean for tomorrow's finished vehicle supply chain? Well, there are many definitions of the word smart in the context of the global port and terminal network. Some believe that being smart has more to do with mindset, where policy decisions and using resources in a smart way are the drivers. But the current challenges to ports of space, pressure on productivity, and fiscal limitations can also be met through technology and innovation. So a fully automated port must combine both aspects in an efficient, agile, and connected way. This presentation doesn't seem to be moving forward. We'll continue. I'm going to focus on the technology aspects and describe how a smart port can be both fully automated and connected by the Internet of Things. So what is the Internet of Things? Well, it's best described as a concept where any device which has an on-off switch can be connected to the Internet and any other device. This would include everything from mobile phones, coffee makers, washing machines, headphones, wearable devices, and almost anything else. It also applies to components of machines. For example, the engine of a crane or the drill of an oil rig. If it has an on-off switch, there's a good chance it could be part of the Internet of Things. But as with all initiatives, it needs to be focused on productivity and efficiency. And for every part of the supply chain, otherwise, what is the point of connecting? For ports, where finished products are an important part of its business portfolio, this would also mean using the technology available within the vehicles themselves. Telematics used to track and position the vehicles via onboard GPS units working in conjunction with the network technologies is a capability that exists today, as we've heard already. As an example, a colleague of mine had the misfortune to have his BMW 7 Series stolen recently during a burglary at his home. And although the villains took the keys, he was able to track the vehicle through the BMW online software program on his tablet, the GPS and the permanently integrated SIM card in the car, and report its location to the police. They'd already contacted BMW, and once the theft had been reported, the police knew the location and the vehicle was recovered. We will also see increased accuracy of GPS, which today can place a vehicle to within 5 metres, but will locate it precisely to its bay within a fully mapped compound. Telematics could also notify the terminal when an electric car requires a charge based on battery level and usage, as would standard vehicles where the software can currently advise both manufacturer and terminal operator of issues with components, and in some instances, carry out the fix remotely. You will all recognise the stages in the finished vehicle process, from factory gate to arrival at the dealer or customer. Innovation is taking place at every point in this process, designed to improve efficiency and remove costs from the vehicle distribution chain. In a fast-moving world, we already have seen the development of technology on the terminals, which is taking us from barcode reading with scanners to passive RFID tags, active RFID tags, and to a combination of GPS locating technology, Wi-Fi, and 4G connectivity within the compounds to accurately identify vehicles through the distribution process. Technology will also mean tremendous change to the people working on the terminals, with roles being more supervisory, with a greater need for maintaining the equipment rather than carrying out the tasks themselves, and with the skill sets needed by the employees being significantly more sophisticated than those required today. So what would the smart port of the future look like? I hope my friend at the back is going to help me with a video here. Here we go. So we've already seen the variety of self-guided vehicles in container ports, where Maffies collect containers and relocate them to other locations within the terminal. So why could not the same be done with self-driving cars? They could be told where to locate themselves and using the onboard GPS, drive directly to that location. And whilst there is a reluctance to accept the use of technology, exclusively self-driving vehicles on the roads, it would be far easier to implement this technology when it has been operated in the safer environment of a vehicle compound. We've already seen drones used in trials of parcel deliveries, and not just by ne'er-do-wells smuggling contraband into prisons, but secure customer locations by companies such as Amazon. But I can also see a future where we see drones doing the same thing in vehicle preparation centres, identifying a component from an image or instruction, and then collecting and delivering it from a parts warehouse to the production line. Vessels too are seeing significant changes. The latest model pure car carriers, the PCCs, already having movable storage decks on vessels to accommodate different types of cargo. But in the future, we would also see more movable ramps linking directly to a multi-storey car park, and where the vessel configuration matches the layout of the multi-storey, allowing the ramp to move up and down with the vessel with a self-guided piece of equipment, pulling the vehicles from the deck and placing directly into the car park. Volkswagen has already been using similar technology in their Autostat facility in Wolfsburg for a number of years, moving vehicles from factory to storage facility to customer handover location using robotic means, so why not from vessel to car park? Automated self-collect delivery for trucks using unmanned kiosks are already in use at European terminals, which allow for a full 24-hour terminal operation. But why not apps using the driver or directly from their trucks, which could book and delivery, linked to the GPS advising of arrival time and allocating collection delivery slots accordingly? The loads could be built to fit with the arrival time, moving themselves to location to meet the truck or train arrival time, or taking it one step further, why wouldn't the self-driving cars load to a self-driving truck or train, or if the customer location is, say, 50 miles away, drive themselves directly from the port to the customer? So what else is on the horizon? Non-piloted vessels and aircraft are no more than 10 years away, and some would say sooner. With the US Navy having recently completed the first trial of a new 132-foot long prototype vessel called the Sea Hunter, the naval equivalent of Google's self-driving car, designed to cruise on the ocean surface for 2 or 3 months at a time without a crew. It's only a matter of time before this is translated into a solution which can be used commercially. Drones carrying out the damage survey on vehicles coming off vessels, taking images of them, assessing and noting damage, which is uploaded onto an app which sends a message to another smart device advising the next course of action. Vehicle preparation center body shops will also see massive changes with vehicle accessorization and damage repair, using 3D printing devices to produce damaged or additional components, reducing the need for expensive inventory. So what we've seen with an automated terminal might look like vessels with flexible and movable ramp configurations, automated guided vehicles with self-driving locating themselves in the terminal, or self-collect and delivery facilities for trucks and rail cutaway. Drones carrying out surveys and delivering components to VBCs, but the most important breakthrough will come in the ability to use all this technology to optimize what you currently have. With space at a premium, optimizing what you have is becoming increasingly important. Using software programs to predict arrivals and departures and the space that cargo will need to free up where it should be best located. This already exists and is being used by ports globally. But optimizing space across a number of ports, collaborating with OEMs, ports, logistics providers, and onboard transport companies, that's something new. To be able to advise where the space exists and where the vessel could call and how other operations could be integrated would greatly benefit customers, shippers, and terminal operators who currently rely on favors, emails, and telephone calls to accommodate cargo in their already full compounds. Certainly at this time of the year, it can be nothing short of chaos. If you have more than one port, this obviously helps with the integration, but why not across a number of ports or terminals? To do this, it will require the ability to connect and share data from numerous sources through an open, air, and secure portal. A portal where data in many different formats can be sent and received. From the port where space is limited, identified by the drone assessing the space, to the vehicle manufacturer or the importer through the port of discharge. The shipper and alternative ports who may have the space, and then onto the terminal, activating the services and equipment needed to manage the cargo. The logistics service provider, and ultimately the transport companies. End-to-end connectivity through technology. All this can be done without the need for complicated interfaces. A common USB port or a standard smartphone connection, and with all the tools to advise and book resource to manage the loading or unloading of a vessel, train, truck, and all the connected through the cloud. It exists. So in summary, the smart port of tomorrow needs to be a facilitator, providing the infrastructure to OEMs and logistics providers. But much more than that, it needs to be the port, i.e., in the true sense of the word, the hub, where the cloud, where it connects, and the conductor, the method to transfer instructions and information between devices, people, and equipment. And to do this, a port in the future needs technology, but above all, it needs to be efficient, agile, and connected. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Simon. An interesting look at what the future is going to look like, in this instance from a port perspective, but we heard a little bit this morning on how the automotive industry is going to change, but we'll be hearing, again, in the next couple of presentations about how this technology is going to be impacting more directly on logistics. Next presentation is from Comar EDI. Thomas Bruska, the consulting director, who'll be sharing some views on technology and IT and how that's going to impact our industry. Thank you very much, Tom.
Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Tomasz Puszka. I'm working for Comar company. For those who don't know our company, we are a global IT software house. We are located headquartered in Europe, but we work globally right now in 26 countries. We have our own offices in more than 70 cities. We employ more than 5,000 employees worldwide. So, and today I would like to speak about supply chain complexity and from the IT company perspective, how IT solution can support you in that area and how we can optimize the supply chain and at the end reduce some costs. Let me check if it's working. Yeah. Before I will go to IT solution, let me start with some definitions, some basic information about the supply chain itself. So what's the definition of the supply chain? So it's the network created between the actors, companies, which are producing, distributing, moving, and in fact selling the products to the final end user. From the actors' perspective, we have raw materials producers, so tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, in some cases, which are supplying their materials to the producers who are producing components for the car OEMs, so for example, seat belts, airbags, and so on. Then we have this producer, tier 1 supplier, who's shipping their products to OEM, who is assembling those products, who's manufacturing the car, then shipping them to the dealers, and dealer is sending to the final customer. When it comes to the areas of the supply chain management, those are the selected ones, the key one. So we have strategic planning, so in which direction we'll go. So now we have the trend of the electric vehicles. So yeah, we have to plan that in the future we'll sell more of those cars. That's why we have to plan it right now. At the end, we have to also plan the demand for those cars. So it will be our next stage. Then, of course, we have to plan the supply chain. The electric cars, they have different components. That's why maybe we'll use different suppliers. We have to also manage that area. Then we have to start with the procurement, so how to order those components from our suppliers, how to ship them to our warehouse, how to manufacture the car. And then when the car is already finished, there's order fulfillment, so how to send the cars to the dealers who already requested such car. So at the end, all those processes are connected with the logistic supply chain. When it comes to the challenges, those are some key challenges which we observe in the supply chain management, not only in automotive industry, also in other industries. So visibility, we have global economy, we have suppliers who are located around the globe. That's why it's very important to have end-to-end visibility. So who is supplying the goods from which location to which location, and when the goods will arrive to my warehouse. Traceability is not only about traceability of the logistic process, also traceability of the, for example, components in the car to know, for example, which seat belts were produced and which were assembled in which cars. Complexity, yeah, the supply chain itself is getting more and more complex. We have more companies involved in the process, more suppliers, more logistic service providers. That's why the complexity is the key challenge right now. Of course, there is a high attention on the costs. We'd like to reduce them in the whole supply chain process. Sustainability is not only for the cars to produce more electric cars, not the petrol, but also in the logistic, how to have the logistic process more ecological. Supply performance, so to monitor if the suppliers are delivering my goods in the right window, just in time, or they are late. Natural disasters, they can also influence our supply chain process, so we have to put eye on this also. Technology, as we have different partners, different IT solutions in the companies, then it's also a big challenge to implement right technology, right application, which will be flexible, which will be somehow not connected with the cyber risk, so how to defend our own IT security. Also, we can add to those points Brexit and some other, let's say, areas which we discussed today. And from the IT perspective, how we can, let's say, address those challenges. Those are just selected one. Of course, we can implement some more applications, but I would like to just focus on 3 of them, in fact 2.5. First one is the data pools. The second one would be the B2B collaboration platforms, how to exchange information between the partners. And the e-invoicing, which is not strictly connected with the supply chain, but it's strictly connected with the economy, with the business which we operate. So let's start with the data pool. What's the data pool? It's the central directory where we are managing the information and we're using which we are exchanging those information. In terms of the articles, we are buying components from our suppliers, and it's good to have the common understanding of the product. So the parameters, not only logistic, but maybe some other codes and so on. So the idea is to have accurate data instead of inaccurate data. So to have the central repository of the information and that all business partners have access to the same information, not to have different data pools, different databases. to have the system which is supporting the update of the information, so not to have delays in the update of the data. At the end, the idea is to have the same understanding of all components, all products between business partners, to have the same information on both sides, not to have any problems during the supply chain, during the ordering or supplying part. From the architecture point of view, this is how the data pools are organized. So we have supplier, manufacturer who are connected to the global network of the data pools, and using that network, they are entering the information to the systems. They are registering products, and then, of course, they are publishing between all business partners which are involved in the process. When it comes to the B2B collaboration platforms, so those are the platforms for the business data exchange and the management, which are integrating all business partners in the supply chain process. So it can be the supplier, logistics service provider, manufacturer, and so on. So all actors which are involved in the supply chain process can be connected using the B2B platforms. An example, which is maybe not new, is EDI platforms. Yeah? So the EDI platforms can connect all partners, and using these systems, you can exchange the data between them. The definition is that you are exchanging information, business documents, data between the partners, between their systems in an automatic way, without any human intervention. What are the types of the EDI solutions? The first one, one of the oldest, is direct connections. So the partners, they are managing by themselves all connections to their partners, which is quite challenging because then you have to employ a lot of IT specialists who are managing connections, mapping, and so on. The second one is value-added networks. So there are some specialized companies which are using their networks to exchange the data between business partners. And the latest, let's say, approach to the EDI is to have cloud solution, which operates more or less in the internet, and that you are buying the service from the EDI provider. The last area, which is not strictly connected with the supply chain, but of course at the end we have invoices which are coming from suppliers or invoices which are sent to our customers. What's the idea of electronic invoices is to get rid of the paper, of course, to send the data in electronic format, and then, of course, to archive the data in electronic format. So to completely remove electronic information and to have electronic data. When it comes to the market, e-invoicing market, we have several countries with their leaders. This is especially Nordic countries and Brazil. But in general, we could say that the average consumption or average, on average, we are using e-invoicing, maybe some percentage. In Europe, in general, we have up to 40% of the invoices which are exchanged in electronic format. The majority of the invoices are still exchanged in the paper, which means additional cost for all our companies. So the benefit is to reduce the paper, to implement electronic data instead, because we have cheaper flow of the data, we have quicker flow of the data, we have lower costs when it comes to the storage of the data, invoices, and at the end, of course, the cost reduction. I would finish, let's say, this part of the presentation with the legal framework. So when it comes to the European Union, we can say that we have common legal framework because we have European Union directive for the electronic invoicing, which regulates how the electronic invoices can be exchanged within the European Union. But we work on the global network. That's why we have to take into consideration that we can have suppliers who's working outside European Union, and the legal framework is completely different. So the formats, the storage periods are completely different. That's why it's very important to work with the company which is specialized in that area, which is giving you the compliance with the not only European legal framework, but also with the global framework. With e-invoicing, which is new trend and which you observe on the European market, is B2G electronic invoicing, is that starting from 2012, all companies which are working with the public authorities will be forced to send all invoices in electronic format. So European Union is trying with this approach somehow to speed up process of electronic invoicing adoption on the market. So this is what's going on the European Union background. So from my presentation, that's all. As I showed you, there are several IT solutions which can be used in the supply chain, which can optimize the supply chain processes, and at the end, which can help us to reduce the cost of the supply chain. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Thomas. I think one of the first lessons I had in logistics from a young gentleman called Steve Harley, who many of you might remember from his Ford days now at Lang O'Rourke, was that logistics is as much about the flow of information as it is about the flow of materials. And I think that was highlighted there in that presentation. Next up, a presentation, maybe looking forward again a little bit more at Industry 4.0. So I'd like to welcome to the podium Barinder Lalaria, Managing Consultant from PA Consulting. Thank you.
Right, hello everyone. So Barinder Lalaria from PA Consulting. As well as consulting, we do a lot of innovation and technology delivery for our clients. The topic I want to touch on today is Industry 4.0, so striving in the digital manufacturing economy. It's a vast subject, but hopefully give you a flavor of it today. As I said, we work a lot in automotive and in the automotive supply chain in particular. Last few years, we've been a partner of the Automotive Council and the Automotive Investment Organisation, where we've been working with these guys to bolster the UK supply chain. So most of the work that we've done with these organisations has been centred around growing existing facilities of existing companies in the UK, which has been quite successful. And as a result, UK-built cars supplied by UK-built components has grown from 36% to 41% over the last 4 years, which is a significant achievement. We have had new investors come into the UK, but this has been predominantly around R&D projects, discrete R&D projects supporting live programs in the UK and working out of centres of competence like Warwick Manufacturing Group and Myra and Nuneaton. So that's all been very good the last few years. However, as we've heard already, Brexit and what we call disruptive technologies, and more profoundly, the fourth industrial revolution will significantly change the landscape for the automotive supply chain and logistics. Industry 4.0 will drive the conversation from mass production to mass customization, and that will happen across the board in all sectors. We heard earlier that autonomous vehicles will be inevitable, and I would say that mass customization will also hit us, and hence Industry 4.0. And the UK, I think it's imperative the UK industry is ready for that, and we have the right sort of competencies, capabilities, and make sure that we remain a centre for production here in the UK. So what is this fourth industrial revolution? Well, it's the next big step in industrialization since the last one, and that was around electronics and IT delivering mass automation and derivatization in production. So the latest revolution is really about connecting the cyber world with the real world and how they work together, handling big data and ultimately delivering a customization of batch products of one, to the customer. That's the challenge. What's driving this change, this revolution? It's basically technical innovations that's changing the way that things are requested, made, and sold. There's a number of aspects here. One is the advancement in new product development, design conception, and how rapid products are being launched now. There is the development in special materials like composites, which are driving change. There's production advancements around production flexibility, speed, and quality for less. Smart factories where products and machines are talking to one another. Localization and again the customization of products locally. Intelligent supply chains. This is where the product is actually controlling the entire supply chain from order to recycling. There's obviously benefits here for the ones who are going to take this on board. Essentially, it's about boosting revenues and offering novel and innovative products to the marketplace quicker, better quality, and at a lower cost. Some of the key benefits, closer connection and direct access to customers, leading to higher customer satisfaction. There'll be new business and revenue models, such as pay-per-use, increased production flexibility, reducing throughput time, and low inventory. I've already mentioned mass product customization, which will be key. High operational efficiency and increased product quality. I think there'll be a much even more cooperation between its suppliers and customers, leading to reduced time to market, and there will be inevitably improved logistics processes and shorter delivery times. So that's the upside. Ultimately, there is a cost of entry over time. There will be a significant amount of investment needed to be made in transformation of smart automation. Replacing legacy assets. Clearly, there will need to be a change to justify some of the rewards here. Due to the huge amount of data being produced and the networking and communication of the various machines and components, there will be the topic of cybersecurity. Understanding potential value of novel technologies, again, high investment, example there, 3D printing. And I think most sectors, including automotive, will understand the limited sort of competency, sort of bringing all this together. And again, that's something that will need to be addressed. So from all the work that we've done across sectors, including automotive as well, there's a number of innovation fields or levers that we've identified that will enable Industry 4.0 to happen. One is looking at the business models. So customer individual production, actually offering manufacturing as a service. Digital supply chain, or value chain. This is connecting the whole value chain together using automated, autonomous logistics concepts, which you heard already, real-time integrated planning, disrupted technologies, augmented reality, and additive manufacturing. Control concepts is another one. Digital simulation, models, and predictive maintenance, and different working arrangements, outsourcing of pre-production and flexible working arrangements. So all these are really just different areas or elements that need to be considered to bring Industry 4.0 as a reality. It's a massive topic, but our view is that it's inevitable and it will happen. That's really a brief overview there to give you a flavour.
Thank you very much. Another interesting presentation looking at Industry 4.0. Something that we take very seriously at Ultima Media and at Automotive Logistics. We try and stay ahead of the curve because we found that these steps from manufacturing or Industry 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, now 4.0 is actually leading to more complexity. Whereas I think the next steps, 5 and 6, will probably be making things simpler. So if the next thing is artificial intelligence, I think that we're ahead of the curve here at Automotive Logistics because we're on 6.0, conferences 6.0, because we develop our conference programs with no intelligence, which I think is the next step ahead. Thanks for arguing with me on that one. Yeah. Just a couple of points before we go to the questions. There are evaluation forms on your chairs, so if anyone's leaving early, please complete the evaluation forms. Your thoughts are very, very important to us. But now it's time for questions, comments from the audience. The usual rules apply. Please raise your hands, wait for the microphone so we can hear you clearly. State your name and your company name, and then ask the question. And of course, we have access to, if you're on the live, on Automotive Logistics Live, you can ask a question from there if you prefer. And you should log on to Automotive Logistics Live because the next session we're also going to have a voting survey from the live stream. So we've got a little bit of time for some questions before we go to the lunch. So there's a question from the old gentleman at the front.
Hello, my name is Ruud Vossenbelt from Inform. We are working on Industry 4.0 initiatives in Germany, and we noticed that the smartphone app is bringing a lot of benefits and helps, for example, to speed up the time that trucks can go through factories with, let's say, 30 minutes by using an app on the phone. How much do you see that in the UK happening, and do you see apps make the big change in Industry 4.0 logistics as well?
Yes, I mean, I'd say most of my experience actually in this topic has been outside the UK. And, talking about early birds, I think a lot of the German companies are really sort of plowing ahead with this topic. Apps is a very good way to sort of introduce this as a concept. And I'm seeing that more and more in the consumer sector actually. More than automotive, where some of the consumer companies are actually allowing their customers to bespoke products and customize those and get them delivered as soon as possible. So our apps is definitely a vehicle to enable that.
Richard, what are you doing? You touched upon the increasing use of technology. JLR, what are you doing at some of the initiatives that are coming, or ideas coming from Industry 4.0?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because we are also looking at the connected, supply chain as well, and how does the connected supply chain fit into the connected factory? It's Industry 4.0 is an area that Jaguar Land Rover is now investigating. We need to look at how do we benefit from data and processing all the way back through to the supply base and actually even further back from the supply base. How can we utilize that data? How do we get visibility throughout the whole supply and value chains all the way through to the final customer? So Industry 4.0 is absolutely an area that we are looking at. The utilization of new technology and the data transfer processes and capabilities now that's out there in the world, and probably over the last 5-6 years has been developing exponentially. Is something that we know that we've got to embrace further. We're not there yet, but actually I think we're all on a journey to really define where the application of that new technology will add further value to the business, and actually how can it really streamline a lot of the processes that we've got today. So that's, we're at the start or midway through the journey towards it, but absolutely we are buying in very, very strongly into 4.0 in terms of some of our planning now.
Thank you. But is there too much information out there? Is there too much data? I think we're so engrossed in trying to look forward, looking at data and trying to connect all the information that's out there. But is there too much information? Is there too much data? I made the joke at the beginning about making things simpler. But are we trying to do too much with too much data? Should we be trying to look a little bit more to make things simpler, collecting the right information at the right time? Maybe that's to Berinda again on that point.
Yes, I agree with you. I think there is too much data, but it's really a byproduct of not the next industrial revolution, but the next generation of individuals. So I think data will be a mass, and it's really a case of sort of digesting that and picking out the relevant information. I think it will be the sort of tools and processes that will actually vet that and make use of it.
And Thomas, with you, you talked about the collection and sharing of information. How do you minimize, how do you keep it simple enough for your customers to get the right information?
Of course, we discuss about the information, the set of the information which is needed by our customers. So on one hand, to minimize the information which are needed, but on the other hand, because of the process are quite complex, we have to exchange as many information as we can. At the end, we are facing the situation that we have a big data. The data is coming from many systems, not only from EDI, invoicing, supply chain, warehousing. So we have a lot of different systems which are exchanging the information. And the issue is how to implement the proper application, which will analyze the data and which will show us the proper KPIs. Yeah.
Richard?
Yeah, I think just I'd pick up on that, and I think it was interesting the point you said about the value of master data. I'd challenge you in terms of answer to your question, Louis. Is there too much data? I'd say no, there's probably too much duplication of data throughout the supply chain. That's probably a better way of looking at it, because actually there are a number of systems that have got their own data feeds, and they're actually we've got to develop that. That leads to error. You're duplicating lots of the data feeds. Get the central data together. It reduces the total amount of data, because every system, as Thomas rightly said, actually feeds in from that central data warehousing.
And Thomas, that goes to your point again about better collaboration and sharing of information.
Yeah, that's the issue, yeah? How to exchange information between the system, not to duplicate, not only inside the company, because inside the company you're using different applications for different processes. So on one hand, we have quite complex environment inside the company. If we add additionally that we are working with around more than 1,000 suppliers, which are using also different systems, different databases, then it gives us a really big picture that we have a lot of different systems not connected, which are exchanging a lot of different information. So that's the key, how to make them simple, how to make them connected, and how to use the data. Yeah? It's not how to collect, how to use the proper information for business reasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I've had some conversations with people in other industries, Amazon probably the most, with their heads of logistics and supply chain who've worked in automotive. Their biggest criticism of automotive is that we don't use the data well, that's the strength of Amazon, and that for logistics and supply chain we don't use the data that's available as well as efficiently as we could do. Any more questions from the audience?
Hi, Michael Woniarski from Unipart Logistics. There's a lot of talk about the future and connected world and automation, etc. And I'd be interested to get a feel for what the thoughts are on the impact and role of people going forward and how that will evolve.
Will we still need people? I hope so, otherwise who's going to attend our conferences? But Richard, have you got any thoughts?
Absolutely, but I think we in bringing it back into a logistics sense in JLR, we recognise that the skills of the people need to change though. Yeah, there will always be a need for people. Yeah, automation and application of relevant technology will reduce some of the labour-intensive processes that we've probably got today, but the skills of the engineers, the skills of the logistics professionals has to change, and that's something that we are working very strongly, looking towards 2025. How do we start putting plans in place now that allows us to start to work more closely with some of the education institutions? How do we start to work with the industry as a whole to make logistics more critical now? Because actually in 2025 we know that the vast majority, well, a number of us in the room are not going to be the people that are driving the innovation in 2025. It's actually got to be the people who are actually at university now or at school now that are bringing in and actually driving those new ideas, because those are the people that are living with this technology renovation, absolutely now. So we're very, we're aware of that, and we're working closely to look at our strategic plans for that.
Simon, in the port of the future, the importance of the people still?
Well, people are very important, but ports are a good example of an industry that has seen a vast reduction in the number of manpower as we automate. And as I said in my piece, that the technology that exists in cars will mean there'll be fewer people in the actual manual roles they currently operate. And that's, but there'll be new jobs going forward.
Any more questions? Okay, we'll cut it short there then, because we were running over time from before, so it's a chance to catch up. I'd like to thank the panel for once again interesting discussion. Thank you very much. The sessions will go back to the timetable, so the next session will start at 2. But if you'd like to join us for a wonderful lunch hosted by ABP, Associated British Ports. Thank you.